Right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Aaron's Reading Room Live. And thank you to anyone that's watching the replay. I am joined today by author Kim Finley. Kim, this has been a long time coming. I've wanted to talk to you on my channel for quite a while. You were the author of the first book in my whole category journey adventure. So I'm so glad to finally have you here on the channel. So welcome.
Well, thanks for having me. It was fun going through that thing on Twitter with you.
Yes, well, and thank you for being the first one. It was a very experimental thing at the time, and so you were absolutely great about the whole thing.
If somebody wants to talk about my books, I'm happy.
Yeah. All right, we've got our first. Oh, it's Alicia. Hey, Alicia, thanks for joining us. All right, so first off, well, usually I ask authors to share some book covers that they're in love with, but as you're, traveling the world and everything, you probably don't have many books with you. So why don't we just
Yeah.
hear about all the great places that you've been this year?
Well, we have been spending most of our winters in St. Martin, so that's where we were at the beginning of the year. It's it's a fun place. It's easy for people on boats, and we're very comfortable there. So that's what we've been spending our winters. And then we left in July. Once it's hurricane season, St. Martin is in what's called the hurricane box. Like you have to get pretty far north or south to miss these hurricanes that can come through, and they
Okay.
have been this week.
Yeah.
I mean, they made it to Nova Scotia and Newfoundland, so they can travel.
Yeah.
So we came. We were able to do something we haven't been able to do for a couple of years because of COVID. The last 2 years, we left St. Martin and went straight to our destination. In 2020, Grenada was about the only place cruisers could go. They opened up
Okay.
a program where you could come down, be in quarantine, and after a couple of weeks, they'd test you and let you in.
Mhm.
And then last year, we went straight down to Bonaire, had to do testing. And this year, things are a little bit more like we were used to beforehand. So we left St. Martin, went to the Saints at the south end of Guadeloupe. We're there for a few days. Then we went to Martinique. We skipped Dominica because it's not easy to get your dog in there.
Okay.
Bumped down the coast of Martinique. There's several places you can visit there. And then past St. Lucia again and for the dog thing, and came to Carriacou, which is one of the Grenadine Islands that's part of Grenada, and then down to Grenada. And about a week ago, we came back up to Carriacou from Grenada. And this week, we're hoping to get up to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Martinique, and back to St. Martin for the 1st of November.
You're just traveling into all the beautiful places.
There are some gorgeous places.
Yeah, I've actually been to a few of those. So I've been to Dominica and Grenada when my family was lucky enough to go on a cruise down in that area. Those were two of the places we stopped, and yeah, just absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, I sent you some pictures from Sandy Island. We just came back from there today. It's just that stereotypical island with like a few palm trees and bushes and sand and nothing else. And the dog just loves it there. He just wears himself out trying to find fish in the water.
Oh, a water dog. Well, I guess you would need to be a water dog to.
But he doesn't like to swim. He doesn't like to
interesting.
swim. He likes to be in the water, but he wants his feet on the ground.
Okay. Well, that goes into the next question. What is it like bringing your dog along with you on the sailing boat?
Bringing the dog from Canada to Panama was it was a thing. The paperwork and juggling it. He's large enough. He had to travel in like down below the plane, and while they heat it during flying, they do not air condition it while it's on the ground. And we flew down to this boat the 1st of September. So you had to allow for the fact that if it's 30 degrees Celsius, he has to wait for the next flight. There's only 3 a week. So you're trying to get all these vet paperwork that have to be done within 10 days of flying. Vet, Canadian Food Inspection Agency, Global Affairs, and then the Panamanian Consulate to get all the paperwork done. And then when you fly in. And Charlie has been great. He's a Cocker Spaniel. He's not a puppy anymore. He's low energy. He doesn't shed, and he has adapted really well. And there's lots of places that you can go. We have checked in with the dog beside us, and they haven't even asked the question like, "Is that your dog?" It's just
Oh.
like, sure, whatever, who cares? Islands with a British background tend to be a little more stringent, and also the Dutch islands. So when we go to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Charlie actually has a EU French passport that the vet in St. Martin
Oh.
made for him. It's not quite as official as people ones, but it's got all his history of his vaccinations and stuff. And if we have any problems with Grenadines, we'll come back here and then just go up to Martinique. But the Grenadines are supposed to be just beautiful. And so we thought we'd spend a few weeks checking them out as we go north. We've heard conflicting reports. Anyways, it can be a little more difficult getting to some places. You have to find a vet, places to source food and things that, isn't too, you don't want food that's too cheap or something, because it's not as good for them. But my husband always says Charlie's the most famous dog in the Caribbean, because so many people have seen him as a Cocker Spaniel. He's not a typical dog. And people forget us, but they remember Charlie. We've run into people, it's like, wait a second, that's Charlie, right? We know you. And if you're in St. Martin and you go to AJ's Car Rental in Barago, ask for the Charlie rate, because they'll give you a break on the price if you're a friend of Charlie's.
Oh, well, how about that? So viewers, you can get the Charlie rate. So it sounds like you haven't been to the Grenadines before. This is going to be a new spot for you.
Our first season down here, we got as far south as Martinique. That was our test year. I think my husband was pretty sure this was going to work, and I was not as convinced that we're going to be good living on the boat. So we came down in our monohull from Canada, and we were sort of timing it so we could go back if we didn't like it or decided a year was enough. Mm-hmm. So we were only here till April. We made it as far south as Martinique, and had some engine problems, bounced back up the islands to Antigua, back to St. Martin, where we sold the monohull, flew home, sold the house in Toronto, bought this catamaran in Panama, and we got back to St. Martin. COVID happened. We were shut down there. So our island hopping, was limited after that.
Yeah. But it seemed like the pandemic has just, or 2020 has just stretched on for several years now. But it's good to hear that things are loosening up down there and you're allowed to
and I think
around.
It was one of the best ways to go through the pandemic. I feel really bad when I hear like people trapped in their houses and stuff, because we're like camping on the water the whole time. We did pretty well.
Yeah. Well, let's go on to your books now. You've written a hockey series. Did you feel that was necessary as a Canadian rite of passage to write a hockey romance?
I don't think it's required, but as I was starting writing this, I'm not really the hockey fan I was once down here. It's a little more removed. Mm-hmm. But I was actually a moderator on the Anaheim Ducks forums back in, early 2000s or whatever.
Oh, wow.
When I started thinking of this book. So so the hockey player hero was sort of what came to mind.
All right. Well, a more serious question. Can you tell us all about this series that you wrote?
This is how I got started. A friend of mine who writes for Love Inspired Suspense would often post on social media different contests and openings and things that was going on with Harlequin. So they used to have a website, So You Think You Can Write, and every year a thing. And, I think I had a chapter once that made the top 50, and then they were voting on Wattpad, and I had just signed up, but it was kind of flattering. And then they would have things called blitzes, where for the different lines, and if you would turn in a first chapter and synopsis, you get some feedback, within a month. And when I sent in the hockey story, I got we like this, would you send in a full manuscript? And my biggest problem is that I have so many ideas going on at once that I never finish because I start one and then it's like, oh, here's this one and it sounds even better. So I finally had, here, finish this one. We want this one.
Mhm.
And I did that. And I think Harlequin writers are a nice, friendly, and very helpful group. And I was on a forum at that point, and one of the other heartwarming authors, I was like, oh, they want my full. And then I got the email that said, you know what? We don't have your phone number. Can I have that? And they do not ask for your phone number to call you up and say, this is so terrible. Please never send us another thing.
Yeah.
The phone number, getting the phone number is a good sign. So when that happened, Victoria said that they wanted to do some more revisions, but under contract. Mel Curtis said, send them your next best idea, and then you might get a 2-book deal. So there was in this first book, there was one of the hockey players who was not very kind to the hero and heroine. And I thought, what would it take to make him turn into a hero?
Mm-hmm.
Came up with that story. And so the first one was Crossing the Goal Line. The second was Her Family's Defender. And I had a couple more, but they decided they didn't want any more sports heroes in that line. Okay. So I have the one I have finished. The other I have a synopsis, but it's not going to go somewhere with Harlequin, but maybe I'll do something else with it sometime.
Okay. Well, Alicia's sold on the hockey romance there. And that is interesting that you mentioned that, because it is kind of a unique look for the heartwarming line, to see the hockey players on. So yeah, it's definitely they've kind of gone in a different direction there, which actually brings us to our next topic. And so let's talk Cupid's Crossing now. So Valentine's Proposal, which is this one right up there, backwards here. So that was the first book in my category journey. And again, thank you so much for writing this series here. It kicked off a whole new reading adventure for me. So can you tell us where the inspiration for this series came from?
I had been coming up with other ideas. I didn't want hockey. So I was, and I had one idea. Again, I have a first book of this 3-book series. It was set in a small town, 3 siblings, but it does have reality television. The first one I thought of was the second book, where I imagined somebody was on a show like The Bachelor, totally humiliated. She's gone home, through licking her wounds, and there's another reality show going to fix up her grandmother's house. So they want her on there for the ratings. Mm-hmm. She wants nothing to do with them, but she wants to protect her grandmother. And I came up with this series, but Heartwarming does not want reality television. That was like a big no. So we had once or twice a year, they would have a sort of like a Zoom meeting with all the authors, and they go through with the research they've done and stuff, and sort of tell you what they're looking for and what they aren't. And the way my brain books, you give it 2 or 3 inputs and something comes out. So some of the stuff they want, like I can't really do cowboy stuff. I have no experience there. I've lived in Eastern Ontario and Manitoba, and there's not exactly cowboys running everywhere. But they're small towns. They didn't want beach towns because they've had a lot of that. So small towns, holiday focused, and low angst. And so I came up with this idea that, a little town with a lumber mill was the main stimulus or the part of their economy. And if that goes down, and okay, what if we make it a romance destination? They didn't want it necessarily wedding focused, but just sort of anything romantic. And so, so first of all, you start with, like a wedding planner or event planner who has to help get things going. And when I originally came up with it, Nelson, who had the engagement before and the wedding that didn't happen, he was supposed to have been with a bridezilla, and my editor Adrian said, what if he was the one, not her, just to give it a different twist? So that came from Adrian. Anyways, and then I was just sort of thinking about setting the town up. So the first one was sort of getting everything planned and going. The second one was getting an online presence. And then the third one was, the main venue, getting the mill transformed into an event thing. And it just, from there.
Yeah. And it's so great. When, so far in the series, my favorite book was a 4th of July Proposal, which was the second book in the series. The characters just had so much depth, and there was just this really deep intimacy to the story and between the two characters. Can you tell us more about writing that book?
That was the one I look forward to the most of the three I was writing. And I think part of it, I was like Rachel, I was a good girl growing up. And I don't think I felt sort of confined by it, but I was, never got in trouble until I started going out with this guy I met at the restaurant, the bartender. He picked me up for the first date on a motorcycle, and we're celebrating our 38th wedding anniversary in December. So he's not Riker, but some of that, like the learning to ride a motorcycle, is something I did myself. And just imagining a good girl and a bad boy, but the good girl doesn't have to be a complete transformation. Just getting a little bit out of her box.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, when I was reading the third one, and so I didn't realize at the time that it was kind of parallel timelines there, and there was a mention of, oh, Rachel and Riker are having trouble, and I was just like, what's going on? No, they got to their happy for now. What's going on here?
Yeah.
But I caught up eventually when the proposal happened in that one again.
Yeah. What happened with that is I should have done, I'm more of a pantser than a plotter, and I should have done more research. And my husband had a friend who was an architect, and I emailed back, please, it's not his fault, anything that I messed up there. But I'd already sort of had this timeline that I, in the first two books that I had to work with. And suddenly it's like, oh, those permits take that long to get. So like I had to push back the start, which meant there was more of an overlap with the first two books than I had originally intended.
Yeah. Well, A Country Proposal, book 4 in the Cupid's Crossing series, is releasing in April 2023, and that's my birthday month. So thank you so much for thinking of me and giving me this birthday present, or to look forward to. What can you tell us about this book?
If you remember the Valentine's Proposal, there was a character, Jordan, who did not get along with Nelson. And I sometimes tend to overthink my secondary characters. So I already had this idea about why they were not getting along. And this book is about Jordan. So you get the whole backstory of, what happened between them. And what kind of worked is, I hadn't thought it out in this much detail, but the problems that Nelson had, where he seemed to think he knew everything and could take over, that contributed to what happened with Jordan. And the love interest is Delaney Carter, who is Nelson's younger sister.
Oh,
you can kind of guess maybe where some of their problems came from.
Oh, that's so exciting. I can't wait. Oh, it's going to be a good one.
And if you liked Rachel and Riker, you're going to see a lot more of them in the fifth one, which is, I believe, they've just confirmed that the title is An Unexpected Twin Proposal, because Riker's younger sister, Jess, shows up in that book.
Yeah, when we were talking on the Categorically Romance podcast quite a while ago now, you had mentioned that Rachel or Riker's family was going to come into the fold, and I was very excited to hear that, because just very connected to those characters there, and his family is very intriguing.
Yeah, so I've may have some ideas about other of his siblings. One idea didn't quite work for Heartwarming, so I'll see if that happened. But yeah, a new lawyer comes to town, and then we have Jess coming back. And Jess is a little different from other characters I've done. She's kind of brash and pushy, and yeah.
Got that just that same kind of family vibe that Riker was kind of over by the time he came came back to town, but still kind of alive in her.
Well, it's more just that she ran away when she was 16 because things were so bad at home, and
Mhm.
she's had to rely on herself, and so nobody else is going to open doors for her, so she does it, and she's perhaps not the most polished person.
Well,
So
oh, I can't wait.
yeah, she at one point she goes, "Yeah, I don't know if Riker told you I'm knocked up. Is that a problem?" And that she's telling Benny. You may remember Benny from that book too. He shows up in Cupid 5.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the mechanic, right?
He's the guy in the wheelchair who
Yeah.
fixes
Okay.
things. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Yes. All right. Well, I forgot to put these questions or these things on the document that I sent to you, but on Twitter, you always seem to have just the best Friday kiss excerpts. They're
Well,
so
thank you.
great. I love them every Friday. How do you go about just picking the most perfect excerpt for those?
Well, part of it is I've told you I have so many ideas. I've got like the one what would have been the third heartwarming hockey story that was completed. I have the other one that was for heartwarming with the reality show kind of thing. That one done. I have um I did a Harlequin book, Halftime, a college hockey book. There's a character in that and another one. And so I've started with that. So I have, plus I had, in theory, that's supposed to be a work in process. So I've been sort of excluding my, the things I've had edited, but then I have the 3 rock star ones. And well, I have probably at least 20 ideas. And so I have so many to choose from. I think that's what it is. It's like I can really, I search through for the word and I have a lot of options. So I'm
That-
glad if they seem like good. I try to pick something that's humorous or emotional, or because some of the words are pretty generic. Like the last one I think was late, and she was late for the meeting is not really a riveting little
yeah.
excerpt to put there. So anyway,
Well,
thank you. It is kind of fun. I look forward to Wednesdays to find the word and get to go through. And sometimes it's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that story. I have bits of that in my folder that the search engine found.
and so does that kickstart your brain and take you back into those stories and make you distracted at all?
I would like to get back to them, but I have had like I've today. There's another cold case book that I've just turned in today. Cupid 4 is done. Cupid 5, I've got copy edits and proofs to come. And then this cold case one. But like I've had enough stuff, and I have the 3 Rockstar ones that I have notes that I'm supposed to be editing. So I don't really have time to play with them, but I see them and think, yeah, I want to get to that next if I can. So
Well, you mentioned these love-inspired suspense stories. You also write under the name Anne Galbraith. Can
yeah.
you tell us a bit about what's the difference between Anne Galbraith and Kim Finley?
Well, the Kim Findlay college hockey romance has sex and swearing in it. And heartwarming can maybe sort of accommodate that, but the love inspired, no, they do not want their author's name associated with anything
Oh,
that isn't sort of in their vision and their lane.
mhm.
So, and actually, I was the one that asked if that was going to be a problem. Nobody had sort of thought of it, but then, my Harlequins are all heartwarming, or LIS. Anne is my middle name, and Galbraith is my maiden name. So
Oh,
it
okay.
was an easy thing to come up with.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So, what can you tell us about what you have coming in love-inspired suspense?
Um, the first one I did was kind of an accident. They used to have writing prompts on the "So You Think You Can Write" site, and I just, again, my brain just loves to come up with ideas. So, uh, when Love Inspired was deciding they were going to do these limited collections, there was a Mountain Rescue and Cold Case. They had a writing prompt where you've got like 400 words to start the story. And so I had this idea where, okay, you've got this woman who's left the city for a small town for her own reasons, and she's just sitting in this quiet town where she's supposed to be taking it easy for a year, and a man walks in and says, "This is my name. I'm just out of prison. I'm sober now. I'm going to church, but I'm going to find out who really set the fire that killed my family." Walks out. She's like, "Wait a sec, what?" And that was just kind of fun. And then my editor Adrian was on maternity leave, so Joanna, another of the heartwarming editors, was taking care of my stuff, and she tweeted that they're looking for cold case ideas. So I said, "Hey, this is what I came up with," and she was like, "Well, send me a proposal." So I did, and I had this other love-inspired suspense one. So the cold case one became Out of the Ashes. This other one I'd been working on, Kidnap Threat, came out, and then in April, I was back with Adrian because she's been back from mat leave for a while, and she said, "Would you want to do another cold case?" And I was kind of pleased because normally it's like, here's an idea. Do you like any of them? So I said, well, I had this kind of idea for another one from the last time, and we went back and forth adjusting it, and she was worried whether I could get it done in time with the other stuff. But it's like, it's April. I've got lots of time. And then I don't hear anything till June, and I'm not starting until I know it. I've got all this other stuff till I know it's actually going to be something. And then in June, I hear back that, I think July signed a contract and didn't get it back from them signed until like August. And like, I just turned it in. So I had started because I got a deal memo and thought it was solid, but like that was it, the wheels of publishing were going slowly. So this one is about a young woman's mother dies in a few months. Her dad had died a long time ago, and there's a break-in at her house and another one, and then somebody tries to abduct her. And when she finally digs up some old papers, it turns out she has been in witness protection since she was 4, and her mother never told her. And suddenly there's some stuff from this old crime, and there's a guy sent out undercover. And I have it set in Canada because I'm more familiar with that. And I have her starting out the book in Winnipeg because we used to live there. And if you're in witness protection, you're not going to be right where you were before, or else somebody's going to see you. So they end up taking a road trip back to the Toronto area where the original crime happened. And anyways, and I put in a dog because they like dogs.
Oh yes, you always have the best dogs in your story.
This one is a retired canine unit one that the undercover guy picks up because the young woman's a veterinarian. So this is supposed to be a way he can get to know her. Okay. And he's never had a dog because his mother's allergic. So he has to learn a lot about being a dog owner. And there's a couple times I have fun where he has conversations with the dog Rex. And one boy's like, "I am not the weakest link in this team. You just keep that in mind."
It sounds great. And Reading Room says that sounds amazing. And that is a great concept. It's kind of like the Truman Show of witness protection, right? You didn't know all of this was going on around you.
Yeah, like they like witness protection. I know because I've followed Emily Rodmell on Twitter, and she's one of their editors, and they like twists on that. So, and I actually have been discussing another idea for one with Adrian, and she's like, yeah, send that a proposal, and she thinks that one also sounds interesting. This one will have a horse instead of a dog, but
okay.
Yeah.
Well, love the animal side characters.
Yeah, I like animals, so it's always fun.
Well, what is some of the biggest challenges of getting into your writing headspace while you're traveling on the boat?
It's sort of finding the time, because things do take longer on the boat. We do want to do stuff. My husband doesn't just want to sit around all the time. As far as usually, I'm pretty good about getting into it. I love reading, and writing is so much like that. And fortunately for me, like when it comes to reading, I'm in the book right away. One
Mhm.
time there's a trilogy back when I was, college age. The third book came out, and I was so interested in it that I'm driving, and at the red light, I pick it up, read a paragraph, put it down, and keep driving. Like I can get into it that quickly. So I can do the same with writing. So um, it's normally not that hard, but deadlines help, especially when you're editing, because by the time you finally turn that book in,
Mhm.
you hate the characters, hate the story, and don't know why you ever came up with it. You've just, gone through it so many times.
Yeah. All right. Well, I came up with a little game for us to play, or well, for you to play actually here. So- and so it's the Make It Cupid's Crossing game. And so I
Okay.
picked these situations or really celebrity couples and uh, found some from Canada. So hopefully you're familiar with them. I think they're mostly pretty famous. All right. So take these couples and make their situation. How would it play out in Cupid's Crossing?
Okay.
So Ryan Gosling proposes to Eva Mendes.
Okay. Now they're very private about their personal lives and have not
Hmm.
wanted to get married, from what I heard. So um, I'm I decided to sort of make this into like the Cupid's Crossing that has existed so far, and there is a proposal in the middle of a corn maze in a country proposal. It's not the main characters, but there is a
Okay.
corn maze on Jordan's farm, and Mariah sets up a proposal there, and we don't get any of the details. So I'm going to pretend it's them because it's very private, it's very different. They could
Hmm.
have their kids with them. Um, so that's what I came up with for
Oh,
that.
that's so adorable. All right. Well, these two aren't an actual couple, but it seems like the overall world seems to ship them quite a bit.
Yeah.
But Tessa
Okay.
Virtue and Scott Moore had a wedding in Cupid's Crossing. What would it be like?
It would have to be wintertime at the mill, where they had the engagement party for JC and Dave with the skating. Because if they weren't interested in anything wintry and skating, you know, they'd be down here in the tropics having a destination wedding. So, could the mill's now converted? It can make a nice venue, and they could have the skating down there for something a little different.
Wedding on ice. Love it.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. If Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively had a meet cute in Cupid's Crossing.
This is something I mentioned in the fifth Cupid's book, but you don't get any details again, because the lawyer gets involved. There's a property dispute, and it involves, in this case, where neither member of the dispute wants the property because there is a dead skunk buried under some leaves, and they don't want to clean it up. So I'm imagining, let's say, he's in the town and she's back to take care of her grandmother's estate or whatever, and it includes this bit of property, and they meet over the dead skunk and are feuding over who has to actually deal with it, because they're so, like, they're fun, right?
Mhm.
They're
Oh yeah.
yeah, they snipe at each other all the time, so I could kind of see them
Oh
doing that.
yes. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Well, thank you for doing that with me. This is the first time I've experimented with thought games there. So I appreciate it.
Okay, we'll see if it comes up again. But anyway,
Well, you have a series in the works called House
yes,
of Hades, but
yes.
this is about a rock band. And so please tell us all about this because romance readers love their Greek mythology, and making it a rock band is just such a cool idea.
Well, this one started because I saw a blurb on a book, and it's about, somebody from the town became a famous rock star and is coming back for high school reunion, and his best friend was a girl, and I started reading it, and it was like, no, this isn't the way I want this book to be. So I stopped there. I never read any further of it because I just came up with this different idea
Mhm.
that I wanted to make her the rock star, to make it a little different. So she's the one that came onto the band. So you have these two sort of geeky music nerds. They became friends, grade 9 band class. She just moved to town, and they sort of by accident get together. And they are, there's the two of them. Nobody else is really interested in them, but they're each other's best friends, and they are just friends. They have a big fight at the end of high school. She auditions for this band. I originally called it Hades, but there is a band Hades, so it became House of Hades.
Okay.
And they've never spoken since. It became one of the rare bands that actually makes it and has become very successful. Mm-hmm. And he got his music degree at college. In the fight, he was like, "Are you stupid? Not going to school and stuff." And he's very self-deprecating. Well, who's stupid now. And the band is doing a documentary about how they all got to where they are. And her parents are music snobs, always into classical music, did not approve of it. And her her music journey is all with this guy, Jimmy, who she hasn't spoken to for 9 years. And so this idea of the story of what was it that caused the fight and how do they get back together, and then once I start again, the secondary characters, I've got, the whole thing. The original two members of the band are the lead singer, Herb, and the main lead guitar player, Martha. And Herb and Martha are not the names that you really think of with rock and roll.
Uh-huh.
So they became this House of Hades, and Herb is known as Cerberus, and Martha is known as Persephone, and the bass player is Demeter, and Stella, the character that I thought of for the first book, becomes Styx. So they've got all these, that was just because, you can't have Herb, the rock star.
Yeah.
So then the second book is Demi's book, and the third book turns out that, Herb has always had a thing for Martha, but has hidden it all these years because there's no dating allowed in the band. And well, it happens at the end, but
yeah. Oh, that sounds great. So when can we expect these? Because I did some searching, and it looks like they're not out yet.
No, they're contracted with Scarsdale, and Scarsdale has sent me notes on the three of them. But then, I told them I just may have to juggle, when do you need these back? Because Harlequin's asked about another book. And she was like, go ahead with that one. So I don't have a timeline. So now that I have finished with, my Harlequin obligations, I've got some extensive notes. I've been going through the first book, doing some pondering, but so I don't know if they'll be out in 2023. It may be 2024 before that stuff.
All right.
Happens.
Well, we're going to keep a sharp eye out. Alicia agrees. It's a very cool idea. So they sound great.
Well, one thing I kind of liked is to make it a different makeup. The lead singer is a guy. The band is all women. I just thought that was a little different.
Yeah. Well, I might have picked your brain on all of this already, but what does Kim Finley and Anne Galbraith have coming up next?
There are 2 Cupid's Crossing books coming out. Like you said, the one is in April. The other, I think, is in July. And the Cold Case book, I think, is in November. I have the 3 Rockstar books, which I'm not sure when they're coming out. I have a historical proposal with Harlequin. I don't know if that's going to work or not. Oh. And I have more hockey ideas, and I have been toying with the idea of possibly self-publishing those. And I've heard that, hockey romances do well that way. I also kind of forgot. I acquired an agent this spring, and she's working on one of the ideas I finished a while ago. It's a rom-com. It's a little too long and a little too spicy for heartwarming. And for that one, it's just when I decided to write. I don't really like the secret baby trope. It's
Hmm.
just not my thing. So I decided to write one just to try to make it work.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So in this one, um, well, my agent's going to be sending notes, and we'll see what happens with it. But in this one, a guy and a girl, it's Florida, it's spring fling, they get together. She finds out later she's pregnant. But when she looks online, she sees that he was killed in a car accident. So,
Mm.
just kind of leaves that. And her sister and husband adopt the baby. And she goes on to become a soap opera star. And 13 years later, the guy who didn't actually die in the car accident, it was his brother, is waiting. He's a mayor of a small town reading a magazine. And here's this person he had the spring, the hookup with. He finds out he'd kind of forgotten about it, but she's describing her perfect soulmate, and it's him. And it's like, but he died, and this is she's a soap opera star. She's been married 3 times. She's doing some spin on that, saying, I think I've met my soulmate, and just
Mm-hmm.
and his town does a date with the mayor auction every year, and he's like, okay, I do not want this getting out to them. I do not want a soap opera star and the whole circus coming to town. So he finds out she has a sister, hunts the sister down, and then finds a 12-year-old girl that looks just like him.
Mm.
So the romance actually happens between the sister and the father, not the soap opera star.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole lot of stuff with the car accident and what happened there, and a whole bunch of stuff. But it's got baseball and bowling, because he runs a bowling alley, and this 12-year-old girl, as well as the romantic couple.
Mm-hmm.
There have been some excerpts from that one on the Friday Kisses too.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so I don't know what's going to happen with that one. My agent has had to step back and pass it on to another agent, so I haven't gone anywhere with that. But that's another one that could be keeping me busy over the next few months.
Okay. So you said you have a proposal for a historical. What?
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to go. I have this bad thing about when there's those pitch contests on Twitter. I like to put something in and get some positive feedback. It's just a thing I do. And I'm in this writing Discord group, and one of the people there did a pitch and got it liked, and she hadn't finished the whole book. And we call that pulling a live now, if you pitch something that isn't quite finished. I did her one better. I pitched one that was just, all I had was the pitch. It was for a regency. They're looking for regencies, and they said they're now open to male, female.
Okay, yeah.
So I imagine where there's a situation where a guy is supposed to make a marriage of convenience to a woman, but he's actually gay, and he meets her brother, and that's who he has feelings for. So I finally, 6 months later, after they liked it, I was supposed to turn it in. I finally was able to get the 3 chapters and synopsis together. So I don't know. I don't. Special edition has had now 2 Roan Parrish books that are male.
Yeah.
I don't know of any of the other lines that have had that. So I don't know if how brave they are about it, and if this is the one they want to be brave with. Roan has written, a lot of male, and I haven't. I've read a bunch, so I don't know. But yeah, so I thought there's a twist that I haven't seen before. So
yeah. Well, fingers crossed on that. And I know Desire is going to have a male. Laquette is writing that one, and so I think next year it's going to come out.
Okay,
hopefully. So,
yeah. So get that door open a little bit.
Yes. All right. Well, lastly, where can everyone follow you online?
I have a website, kimfinley.ca, Canada, so it's .ca, not .com. On Twitter, I'm at Miss Hayer74. I was a real Georgette Heyer fan for years and years, and that was the first pen when I was on the forums for that hockey for the Anaheim Ducks. It was my first time going online, and I was just paranoid. Who knows what will happen. So Miss Hare was always that was my identification. And somebody once asked, "How do you pronounce it? Is it Hare or Higher?" And I'm like, I don't know. I've only read it.
Whichever you prefer.
Yeah, so it's Kim Findlay author and author Kim Findlay on Facebook and Instagram. Instagram is mostly pictures of our traveling, some pretty sunsets, Charlie chasing fish, or, some of the beautiful beaches and stuff we see.
All right. Well, I will get everything linked down below. I didn't get to that before before the live show started. I'm realizing now, but I'll have it up tonight. All of the places you can follow Kim online and where you can get her books and everything. Thank you so much for joining me. It was such a great time talking with you.
Well, I kind of feel a little bit like I helped nudge you in this path. So I'm really glad to see that you're having fun with it and that it's going so well.
Yes.
And that I, helped open that door to Harlequin romances for you.
You absolutely did. Thank you so much. All right, viewers. So my next interview is actually just going to be next week. It's going to be with Harlequin Special Edition author Sarah Taino, and that is going to be at the same time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific. The next live show I'll be on will be on the Who Picked This Book Club. So that's on my friend Nicole's channel. And we will be talking about the Given to the Ghoul by Desiree M. Nicoli. That's 10/12. And that's at 6 p.m. Pacific and 9 p.m. Eastern. And then our book club for October on this channel here is Interview with a Vampire by Anne Rice. And that'll be on 10/24 at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Actually, I think I probably got the time wrong on that. I usually do those later because we have workers that are in that book club. So those are at 10 p.m. Eastern and 7 p.m. Pacific time. Pardon my banner there, everyone. All right, and the last few comments here. Thank you. It's great. And thank you, both of you, for joining us today and taking part in the comments. Well, everyone, thank you for watching. And Kim, again, thank you for joining me. So all you viewers out there, go ahead, Kim.
I was just going to say thanks. This was a lot of fun. If it'd been earlier, I could have maybe given you some nice background scenery, but it's the sun's set here at about 6:30. So,
well,
it's dark.
Next time we'll do an earlier one. How about that?
Okay. If you want to see some of the pretty sights, yeah.
All right, viewers, happy reading, and I will see you in the next video.